Welcome to Speaking of Pets.
We're the Novotny sisters from Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm Dr. Alice Novotny-Jeroman, a board-certified veterinary dermatologist.
And I'm not. I'm Janet Novotny-King, the doctor's sister, podcast co-host, pet owner, rescuer, and lover.
We're here to provide pet owners with science-based information to help them be the best pet parents they can be.
Here's today's episode, created just for you and your pets.
Hey everyone, welcome to Speaking of Pets. Great to see everybody again. I know you've all heard of the bird flu, but not so much lately, though, sadly.
It's quieted down a little bit.
But we need to talk about the bird flu because it can kill your pet cat. And I don't mean to be dramatic about that, but I've got my go-to person for that. That's Dr. Andrew Bowman, who is a true Buckeye. His Bachelor of Science, Master's, veterinary degree, and PhD, all from the Ohio State University. He is our go-to person for zoonotic and emerging infectious diseases. And I'm so happy, Dr. Bowman, that you had time to spend with us today, because I really think we need an update on bird flu, which I don't see too much in the media lately, and I know it's still out there. So welcome, and we're glad you joined us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to talk about it.
Good.
Hope it stays quiet, but we'll get into it. I'm not certain it will.
Uh-oh.
Well, Janet, why don't you start? Because you were asking me some questions, and as a dermatologist, I don't know that I can answer those.
So what strains of bird flu are currently circulating, and which are the most concerning to you? It seems to have really quieted down, and I think it's related because the egg cost went down, the price of eggs.
Right.
So it's, to me, business person, it's got to be directly related to that, right? So what's going on with bird flu?
Yeah, so to really think about bird flu, you've got to understand the natural host, right, which is wild waterfowl. And so we've had influenza strains, usually the low pathogenic avian influenza strains. They circulate in waterfowl all the time. They're always there, and they're circulating and usually of minimal consequence. However, in late 2021, early 2022, we had a strain of highly pathogenic H5N1 come across from Europe, likely through migratory birds across the North Atlantic, hit the Canadian coast, and then spread down into the U.S. in the Atlantic migratory bird flyway. So, right, for all the birders out there, we know the flyways and the migratory birds kind of follow, and so it spread down the East Coast. And then when that virus got to North America, it found all these new friends, the North American low-path viruses that we already had in our waterfowl, and it started to reassort. It started to change. So flu viruses, they have that ability to mix and match different segments. They've got 8 different segments. Some are better than others. The analogy I kind of use is think about like a bag of M&Ms, and you got to have a red one and a blue one and a brown one. But you know what? You could maybe get a peanut M&M red one in there, or you could get a caramel M&M, and so you get these different kind of flavor combos, and some of those are better than others, right? If a bag of M&Ms reassorts with a bag of Skittles, probably not a good combination. It won't go anywhere, but you could get some of these other ones that would work. And so we've seen the virus change in North America. It's picked up some different properties, and along the way, then as it's done that, it's entered into a lot of non-regular influenza hosts. And so when we look at spillover into small mammals, wildlife has been affected, but also companion animals, especially the cats. Generally species that we didn't think of as usual flu hosts, right? So a cat walks into a vet practice with respiratory disease. We didn't think flu. That's not a thing cats usually get. But here we're seeing it in this altered form, and the disease that some of these species are getting is not respiratory disease. It's a totally different presentation. And so that continued change is what gives me concern. And so we really get into the granularity of which viruses are circulating. If you let me geek out with the other influenza people, we'll start talking genotypes. So I think we're going to continue to see H5N1 on the scene. We're already seeing it in this year's migratory birds as they're moving south. Which flavor combo we're going to see, I don't know. But they all kind of give me some concern.
Is it seasonal? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, we see a seasonal trend to it in the migratory birds, largely in that southbound migration, because if you think about bird life cycle, birds are hatched Wild birds are being hatched in the summer. And then when they start that initial migration, all those immunologically naive birds are out and mixing and mingling, and they have that first exposure, which is going to allow virus to amplify, right? It's kind of like kids in their first trip to preschool,
Yeah.
right? The first week, everybody's got it.
Everybody
And-
gets sick.
And that's kind of what we're seeing is in that the immunologically naive, the juvenile, the hatchier birds probably really amplify up virus as they're on their first southbound migration. When they come back north, they might bring some virus with them, but they probably have built immunity by that point in time. May carry virus, maybe in a lower dose, shedding not as much. The population immunity has been built. And then they come back, they go to the breeding grounds. Next year's hatchier birds are born, and the cycle repeats. So I think in North America, we certainly think about fall, winter being the time that we're going to expect heavy viral load coming at us. As we kind of start to look at commercial poultry, we're starting to see detections. It's starting to creep up again because, the migratory season started.
What about people ask me, I feed geese. Am I in any danger? And what about a dog that eats geese poop? What about those two circumstances?
Yeah.
Or don't we know?
We don't know. Generally, commingling is not great, right? So I don't know that we have a lot of evidence of saying feeding birds is promoting virus transmission, but we do know that, commingling of birds is just like commingling of any other species leads to pathogen transmission. And so, if I really had if I had an outdoor cat that I don't think I'd be putting out a bird feeder. And it's
right.
And, that's maybe not totally fair to lump all birds together, right? We call it canine influenza, or we call it equine influenza, and there's really only one species of those. And then we say avian influenza, and there's 9,721 species of birds. They're not all equally affected. They're not all players in this game. But, right, if I was trying to limit risk, especially waterfowl, I wouldn't be trying to attract waterfowl towards things I carry.
Right. And the other thing I was reading too, I have a lot of holistic type owners that want to feed raw milk, raw goat's milk, raw cow's milk. What's your opinion on that?
I would not do that. For
various reasons.
Yeah, various reasons. But if we're talking influenza, the spillover of H5N1 into dairy cattle in the U.S. and then the subsequent spread across the country, if we look at the viral titers coming out of milk from infected cows, it's astounding, right? I have grad students trying to concentrate virus to do an experiment, and they will work a long time to get something to a pretty high titer. The amount coming out of a cow exceeds that by a lot, right? And so, we joke maybe we don't need to spend all this time in the lab, we just need to buy a cow.
Right.
But it really, the amount of virus coming out is astounding. And then when we look at what that has done to companion animals, especially cats on dairy farms, I would put that in the definitely don't do category.
Were cats the first, the canary in the coal mine? Were cats on dairy farms, were they the first ones to kind of give a clue that this was going on?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We kind of seem to spill over as the migratory birds were happening. Certainly, lots of, we'll just put in the category of furry woodland creatures, right, had succumbed to things. The cats, along with some birds on the dairy farms in the panhandle of Texas, did kind of, raise the alarm that something's up. But the reality is those cows had been, they had mastitis, mammary gland infections of unknown origin. And, I think we could relate from the vet field. Cows didn't get flu, right? I mean, that's something that we were pretty much taught. And,
right.
I think if anybody tried to submit a sample prior to this and said from a dairy cow and said tested for flu, they would have said, hey, you marked the wrong box, you missed a day of vet school, right? That's not a thing.
Right.
So I think as we just kind of learn about it, the fact that there were other species involved did at least trigger some folks to say, hey, maybe we should look at flu as an option.
So, okay, have any humans had bird flu?
Yes.
And is it transmitted from waterfowl to human? How is it transmitted?
Yeah, so we have 70 reported cases in the U.S. since this has come across. The majority of those are related to dairy cow exposure. 40, about 40. There's another 25 or so related to poultry farm exposure. So poultry flocks who've been infected and then people dealing with that. There are a handful, like 5 or so, that don't have known infected animal contact or unclear. And one of those is fatal. We don't know. But it certainly has happened. And, U.S. public health responds to that every time as the potential kickoff to the next pandemic. We have to, right? And so those are certainly getting investigated, but there's also, we know they're underreported, right?
Yeah.
The clinical signs and symptoms of a person being infected with high-path influenza right now has not been radically different than seasonal flu. And so, if you just think about the idea of, I'm off a little bit, and even if I go to a healthcare provider, they'll say, "Oh, it's a virus." Even if you run a flu A test and find out that it's flu A, they'll say, "Oh, it's seasonal flu." There's a lot of hurdles to get to the idea that it's actually a high path infection, and so I'm certain it's highly underreported.
Wow.
Why is it that it's so much deadlier in cats than, say, dogs?
Great question. I have no idea. We could speculate. If we
Cats, they like to do it up. Yeah.
No, I think if we honestly look at what species have been more severely affected, it's the species that do not normally have endemic flu, right? So we have a canine influenza. They're exposed to influenza. They're vaccinated for influenza. I think there's some cross protection there that is helping. Cats, not so much, right? And so it plays out across a lot of these species. I think the species that are severely affected are the ones that don't normally have flu. I don't know that that's 100% true, but
I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So how does a cat present? Like, what am I looking for in my two bird cats outside?
Yeah, the sad thing is that most of these present in a fairly rapid course of the typical not doing right to,
Right down.
Yeah, maybe you get some respiratory disease or not. It goes to neurologic, and most of these are presenting as neurologic cases, and they're actually being diagnosed after rabies testing comes up negative, right? And so most of these are presenting neurologic, and the veterinarian submits a sample thinking this might be rabies. It's not rabies. And then we find influenza virus around the brain, which is radically different than what we would ever think of as flu. In fact, a lot of these animals, cats included, a nasal swab would be negative. The virus has gone, deep around the central nervous system, and it's not until post-mortem exam that you find out where the virus is and find out what it is.
So for general practitioners, there really is no good test for it, correct?
There really isn't. There's not a great test, and it's but I do think it adds to the differential list that we really need to think about. The things that just aren't normal. As much as we thought we knew about flu, this H5N1 is really making liars out of us all the time. And so I think these times when we say like, oh, is that a outbreak of, on a pig farm, strep suis, that's a neurologic disease. Is it really strep suis or is it H5N1? Man, we've seen several cats that are whatever. Maybe we need to look into that a little more, because I think just those abnormalities, the things that are just not quite right are the things we need to look at.
Hi everyone, I'm Larry. Some of you know me as Grandpa Larry. And I run Larry's Animal Safari on YouTube, where we share sweet and educational videos about baby gorillas, zoo animals, and the amazing teams who care for them. If you love animals of all kinds, I'd love to have you join us. You'll meet little ones like Jamila and Kayembe, learn how zoo families grow, and enjoy real moments that bring joy and curiosity to animal lovers everywhere. Just search Larry's Animal Safari on YouTube or click the link in the show notes. New videos go up weekly, and each one supports awareness for animal care and conservation. Thanks to Speaking of Pets podcast for all they do. Now, let's get back to the show.
So what can farm or poultry workers do to protect themselves?
Yeah, so it's a respiratory pathogen coming into humans, right? And so we can preach PPE all day long, but I can also say unless you've stood on a dairy farm when it's 90 degrees milking cows,
Yeah. That's right.
it's a little hard to say gown up, mask up
Yeah.
It's sweaty.
for your entire shift. And guess what? We'll do that
Yeah.
again tomorrow and tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what we say. I mean, generally you're going to have to say protect your face.
Right.
But
Right.
it's, especially on a dairy farm, it's such a high viral load. On a poultry farm that's infected, you have so many animals that are infected. Again, it's a high viral burden in that environment.
Wow.
So should you not also eat raw eggs?
So the poultry side has taken a totally different stance than
Okay.
species, right? Poultry essentially has a zero tolerance policy for influenza. They have active surveillance. The National Poultry Improvement Plan includes active surveillance. We really do not let influenza circulate in poultry flocks. Like that's a thing that we've said we're not going to tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't give me a whole lot of concern because there's so much active testing there.
I see.
We just won't tolerate it.
Wow.
Now, am I mistaken? Isn't Europe vaccinating for H5N1?
Poultry. Some countries have some species.
Okay.
It's not a blanket use of vaccine yet, and that
Like ducks in France or
ducks in
something
France.
like that?
Yep. It's a contentious topic. Largely around export, right, and export markets. So those testing strategies that I mentioned, our zero tolerance plan is basically built around the idea of we screen things looking for antibodies to influenza, right? And so our poultry shouldn't have any, and makes it very easy to find anything. If we introduce a vaccine into the market, our poultry will have antibodies.
Right.
Our testing strategy is blown up. All the trade deals that we've made with the rest of the world that we don't have influenza based on no antibodies now have to be renegotiated. So it's a as much as we'd like to say we could just vaccinate, it does complicate things. And we also don't know what that does to kind of changing the viral evolution. If we put big immune pressure on it, it's an RNA virus that has no proofreading mechanisms. Escape mutants are going to be prone to succeed. And so we kind of have to think about, what's the long-term effect of putting vaccine out.
But pasteurization of milk, getting back to dairy, that kills the virus.
Pasteurization is highly effective. Effective. That high viral load we see coming into pasteurization, highly effective. Obviously pasteurization is has to work right and all those sorts of things. But plenty of studies have been done at this point to show pasteurization is effective, and we've got plenty of buffer room. Like we're not right on the edge. Consuming and feeding pasteurized dairy products, blanket recommendation.
But for example, raw diet consisting of poultry or would be not good to feed pets.
Would be not good, right? That's
and freeze drying, I read, doesn't kill it either.
Yeah,
correct. Freeze dry raw.
Yeah, we've certainly seen the effect of. We've seen some cases in animals from feeding raw diets, right? So, some version of that is not good. So yeah, anything like that, we don't want to promote that idea.
So, how likely is it that it would become transmissible to humans? It's like I don't know, but.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those that we just don't know what it's going to take, and sadly those are very high risk, highly controlled experiments that we don't really want to try to create the virus that it takes to do it, right? Because that creates some challenges. So I don't think we exactly know what it would take for it to become human-to-human transmissible, but we generally know we don't want to give it more options to try. And so, that's kind of the mentality we try to take is if we can keep it in whatever host it's in, let's keep it there. Generally, when these things move between host species, bad things happen.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would imagine at first, when this first started, I would think as a farmer, having this be your income, it would be a hard decision to report that I think I have it on my farm.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Getting the numbers of this had to be difficult for epidemiologists, no?
Yeah, certainly. And especially early on when on the dairy side, we didn't have a case definition, right? I mean, that makes it really hard. And yeah, there is, I mean, all farms are businesses. And so you've got to consider like, what's the business outcome to it? And I think we definitely, the dairy industry responded and we've changed some things. There certainly was an initial response about, well, what's the big deal? Like, I mean, they've got mastitis and,
Right.
yeah, it's hurting the business a little bit, but we have all these other diseases that no one's really come out here to help us with before. Now you're all here to help.
Now the feds are there.
To help with this kind of, not highly consequential to us
Right.
thing. And so like it took a fair bit of education for a group of producers who have never had to really deal with the flu space, right? Like
Yeah.
I could go talk to pigs and poultry all day long about flu and they would get it. Dairy just had never had to deal with it.
It's like talking to cat people about flu.
Right.
Ain't happening. No
Right.
flu in cats. But you know how sad, I was reading the mental aspects of people that not only owned poultry farms but worked on them after they had to depopulate and kill all these birds. I mean, emotionally, it was really affecting these farmers and the employees. And we don't even think about that, but how sad is that for not only for the poultry, but for the people that own that?
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
folks are employed as caregivers
Yeah.
and
They're caregiving to keep the birds healthy, and here they're having to then kill
And then
them.
financially, when they have to kill it's awful.
right. And it does weigh on them because in some regards they feel like they failed at their job, right?
Right.
Because
Yes.
we let that happen. And whatever, undoubtedly it was some biosecurity lapse somewhere, but we'll never really trace back to what exactly it was. But it's hard on them for sure.
So for dairy farms, what did they do? Quarantine them? How did they control it there? Because they didn't depopulate.
Yeah,
Thank God.
basically a stop movement until the herd cleared.
Okay, so no transfer of cows from farm to truck or whatever.
Yeah, we're not moving lactating dairy cows until we'll
Okay.
clear virus.
Are there any resources that you could recommend that the public can keep an eye on? Like, is there a public website where you can see the incidences of?
Yes, USDA, because these are both ag species and right, they're tracking it. USDA has a website where they record H5N1 detections in poultry. They have a sister
It's great.
the sister site with livestock, and then another one for the other species as well. And so you can pull up a map where it's got everything that's been detected. The cats are on there. You can see kind
It's
of
really
when
cool.
where. Yeah,
It's commercial and backyard flocks, wild birds, livestock, and mammals.
Yep.
Wow.
It's really cool.
It's very transparent of the detections that are happening, and you can and they even break it down to like total outbreak or the last 30 days, and so you can kind of see trends that are happening.
So
Dr.
I have a crazy
go
question.
Okay.
Who comes up with this H5N1? There's got to be a system for these names, right?
I think it's virologists.
COVID, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know where we are with COVID right now, what strain, but someone comes up with that, right?
Yeah, so correct. That goes way back.
Don't mention clades, Dr. Bowman. That'll blow her mind.
Yeah. It goes back to antigenic differences or the original differences, and so we realized the hemagglutinin and the neuraminidase are the two surface proteins, and we just started numbering them as we found them, right? Like so.
Okay.
And I always say like the level of resolution that we get with the H's and N's is pretty coarse, right? So the example I use is H5N1 is like saying guy in red shirt and blue pants. Like, there's a whole lot of variation within that, right? And
no plaid.
Yeah, like, I mean, you can have a whole lot of variation, right? And so,
Right.
yes,
And
we
don't
kind of
say navy and maize. Don't even say it.
no. We can bend it into something big that's describing the outer surface of this virus, but beyond that,
Wow. This is interesting. I clicked on wild bird, and it tells you where, like in Washington State, Michigan, Iowa, India. It's fascinating.
Right. I have two questions. How prevalent is it in Ohio, dairy cattle? And what about people, like I have a friend that has pet chickens. So is this a reportable disease? I mean, if she sees something going on with her chickens?
Yep. So in Ohio, we've only had one dairy, and that was back in April 2024.
Wow.
And it was linked to a cattle movement. So we've been fortunate. We are part of the national milk testing strategy now.
Okay.
So we feel very confident that we know the status of what's going on in Ohio, and if there were to be a spillover, we catch it pretty quickly. Backyard poultry, that's a definite concern. And yes, it is a reportable disease. There will be regulatory action if it's confirmed. However, for the betterment of the entire poultry sector, you got to report. Things not looking right.
So if I have chickens in my backyard and I suspect, do I call my vet? Is that how I?
You call your vet, or you can call the state veterinarian as well.
Wow.
If you call your vet, the vet may come out to look, or may just call the state vet. But it's going to go to the state at some point in time, and to make an official diagnosis, a state veterinarian is going to have to be involved. So because of the implications of that diagnosis, that we're not going to just send that off to a lab or an in-office test or something like that. We need no confirmation on
Think
that.
of all those people that got chickens during COVID, and then they also got chickens during the egg prices flying up. People were doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
It's interesting on the map. It's mostly like the central.
Oh, right.
It's not really in the east.
That's really cool. What about now? I've had people ask me, even though I'm retired, my outdoor cat just killed a bird today. What about this bird flu? What should I do? What would you advise them? I mean, I said, well, keep an eye on the cat. I mean, do they test the dead bird or what?
Well, sometimes I'm going to be honest with my cats, which are killers. There is no evidence other than feathers.
Well, yeah, I know,
Sometimes.
but that means they did something.
Yeah, I mean, usually, I think the reality is if a cat gets infected, we don't really have a treatment, right?
That's true.
God.
And so, we could provide supportive care, but we're not using the antivirals in animals or restrict them for people. So we don't really have a great treatment.
Right.
And unless you're really that curious to test a wild bird, probably not going to happen. I think the better thing would be to try to prevent those exposures in the first place. And, I know cats want to get out and they've got their natural hunter instinct, but, especially in this like fall migratory wave, higher risk, right? I try to limit the opportunity.
And you're right about the bird feeders, about not having them out. I'd love to watch the birds, but I never had the bird feeders out because it drew raccoons and other things, and I didn't want the dogs to get into a scuffle with the neighborhood raccoons. So, yeah.
Yep.
What are the biggest?
But for bird flu reasons.
What are the biggest misconceptions that the public has about bird flu?
I think one is that the term highly pathogenic avian influenza is really scary, right? That sounds bad. However, you got to realize the definition of highly pathogenic avian influenza is based on how it behaves in chickens, right? I mean, it's in federal code, it's in international code, it's how it behaves in chickens. And certainly we have some molecular markers that tell us like this one's going to be worse or not, but it's all predicting how it behaves in chickens and probably poultry, turkeys, but it doesn't mean anything of how it's going to behave in people or any other species. Right. And so you'll see the headlines, highly pathogenic avian influenza, and people get all worried.
Yeah.
Unless you're a chicken, it doesn't really mean much. Like I can find highly pathogenic viruses that are horrible in other species. and I can find low pathogenic viruses that are horrible in other species. Vice versa, I can find high path that don't really do anything to anybody else. So I think that terminology, it maybe catches headlines, but it doesn't really mean anything other than what it's going to do in those domestic poultry species.
Wow.
What's the first thing when it invades, say, a poultry farm? What's the first thing the workers notice in the chickens? I mean, deaths
If
or
it's
just
highly pathogenic, it's mortality. Yeah.
okay? So they'll see dying chickens for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, they walk in one morning and you're like, that's not right. And then as the day
Right.
progresses, there's more. And
Yeah. So what they test? What the saliva or what?
Oral, simply oral swabs.
Oral swabs. Okay.
Yep.
Is that PCR testing? I know, Janet, that's too common, but I'm just curious. For
Yeah,
myself.
it's nucleic acid PCR
Okay.
testing, and then sequencing to confirm which strain it is.
So they lay out the instructions, and then you do the swab like you do when you do a COVID test, and the chicken drip.
No.
Not quite, but
And tick, tick, tick,
Yeah,
tick,
and then you
tick.
set your timer for 15 and you watch.
right. Not close, but not quite.
Dr. Bowman, I read on ProPublica and you probably saw this article. This person that wrote this article was convinced in California that it was wind transmitted because he said that the strain that they did genomic testing on was not from wild birds. It was from the farm up the road that then he tried to do these wind studies, and he had a lot of experts look at this, and some of the experts agreed with him and other ones said, no. What's your opinion on that? I thought that was fascinating.
I think that transmission continues to be a thing we don't understand.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's honestly very frustrating to us. Right? What do I tell a farmer? Do better biosecurity, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Just do better." Like it's really frustrating to us, right? I mean, everyone wants to do better, but I can't say just blanket do better. So I think it depends on when and where. Could wind play a role? Certainly. I think if you're in an ag dense region where if I have a layer complex full of laying 100 or million birds in there that they get infected and it's exhausting out, and there's a turkey farm across the road, that's a very reasonable thing. The cows, I don't know, we don't really know how much of a viral plume comes off of the farms. It's really not understood, and even at that, we don't know. On the cow side, we don't know how it's transmitted cow to cow or wild bird to cow. All of that's poorly understood at this point.
Wow.
So I think we start to use those pieces to put together reasonable hypotheses to test. But I don't think we totally know at this point in time which things to follow or not. And it's really hard to reconstruct things after the fact.
And also which PPE to use. I always thought with COVID, okay, you had gloves and a mask, but I was worried about ocular, your conjunctival exposure. I was worried about that and thought maybe we should be wearing goggles too. And I know we laugh about it, but you know, a lot of times you do this and touch your eye, bingo.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There's plenty of flu studies that look at ocular.
Sure.
There's some researchers out there that use the ferret model, and they have little ferret goggles they put on to
On ferrets?
yeah
No kidding.
to expose the ferret's eyes via just the eyes. Now
I've heard of doggles, but not
Ferragles.
So
double R.
Hi everyone, I'm Larry. Some of you know me as Grandpa Larry. And I run Larry's Animal Safari on YouTube, where we share sweet and educational videos about baby gorillas, zoo animals, and the amazing teams who care for them. If you love animals of all kinds, I'd love to have you join us. You'll meet little ones like Jamila and Kayembe, learn how zoo families grow, and enjoy real moments that bring joy and curiosity to animal lovers everywhere. Just search Larry's Animal Safari on YouTube, or click the link in the show notes. New videos go up weekly, and each one supports awareness for animal care and conservation. Thanks to Speaking of Pets podcast for all they do. Now, let's get back to the show.
This has been really so informative. Like,
You know what? You've made this understandable because whenever someone says H5N1, I'm like, oh, there goes those numbers again. And then when they add those clades 1.2.3b or whatever after it, I'm like, don't go there with me because then we're getting into genetics, and you know how that is.
I do have one more question though. Are there any vaccines in development?
Oh, good thinking.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly are vaccines in development. For
which species?
Take your pick. There's a lot of vaccine development underway. Poultry's got a lot of interest, but we talked about the regulatory issues there. Certainly dairy cattle is an interest, but we've got to understand, like, is that a thing we're going to do or not? Or that's kind of saying we're going to continue to live with it versus can we just get rid of it? Companion animals, there's the talk of, like, if this is going to be a continued threat, do we need to do something there? And we've seen some of those kind of, I guess, in development vaccines get used for some, high consequence species in zoologic zoos and those sorts of spaces. Maybe not the primary species they were developed for, but things we to protect. There is a lot of vaccine development happening. I think it's maybe more on the implementation side that we've got to sort out. Where are we going to use these? How are we going to use these? And what's the way forward?
Well, and also expense for dairy cattle.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's a very real thing you've got to consider. Even on the poultry side. I mean, the profit margin on a per bird basis is not huge, and so if you evaporate that by saying we're going to vaccinate every bird,
oh my God,
then farms are, why are we raising chickens? Like it's not there. So I think the longer lived birds maybe have a potential, layers, turkeys, those sorts of things. I don't ever see us vaccinating broilers. It's just not the return on investment just isn't there.
wow.
Well, and on dairy farms, do you run across the idea of let's just let the disease take its course and have them get immunity?
Oh my God.
But
yeah, I mean,
but then what?
That's kind of the strategy we're taking, right? Is stop movement, wear itself out, and then we've built immunity. I think we're slowly getting some information on, like, how durable is that immunity, how cross protective is that immunity. Right. I mean, we're really not even 2 years into this outbreak, and so we don't have great information on that front. But I think that's one of those things. We are seeing the virus change the more it's in dairy cattle, right? It's adapting to dairy cattle. And so we've got to try and understand, would that original infection natural immunity still be cross-protective in the future? Would it be cross-protective against other strains that wild birds are going to bring in subsequent years? We don't know.
When the dairy can, and I'm saying mother, I know it's not a veterinary term. When the mother dairy cow has it and has a baby, does the baby have the virus or immunity to it?
Doesn't look like.
Or don't we know?
It doesn't look like calves play a role. There have been several studies where we've tried to feed positive milk to calves, and they don't seem to. If they are infected, it's very minimal. It doesn't look like they're really playing a role. But we don't know. Did they develop immunity? Like, is that a positive? It's hard to know.
Right. Boy, there's so complicated. There's so much to it. And to me, there's so much to it is because it acts differently in different species. Kills cats, but doesn't really kill dogs, right? Is it just upper respiratory in dogs?
Yep. I mean, you're right. It's not a uniform picture, and it's really hard to understand.
So, Dr. Bowman, we got to wrap it up, but we need to know, do you have any pets?
Oh, yeah, I want to know. What pets do you have?
I have some goats at home.
You have goats?
I love goats. What kind? Nubians?
They're boar goats. So I've got, four pregnant does at home, and we should have kids on the ground in probably a month.
Wow.
Goats are so fun.
Who
oh
are
my
your
God.
boyfriends?
Usually friend, right?
Friend. His name is Spot.
You don't want to have too many male goats around.
His name was Spot.
Spot?
This year's friend was Spot.
And what are your goats' names?
Yeah.
We've got Honey and Sprinkles and Chocolate Chip. And who am I forgetting? Oh, Autumn.
I have a feeling think some kids had some part in the namings there.
Oh, 100%. Kids.
Sparkles.
Yes. Yeah.
No, sprinkles.
Sprinkles.
Oh, that's
Sprinkles. Yes. They tend to name offspring by the mother. So, we used to have a doe named Buckeye, and so she gave birth to Brutus and Carmen and Scarlet, and yeah.
And then they all did Carmen, Ohio.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, when we got our rescue Libby, she came with the name Libby, and I'm checking her in at the vet for the first time, and they said, well, what is her full name? And I'm like, Libby of Buckeye. Like, you know how they name those dogs?
And nobody got it because she lives in Connecticut.
And the guy, the woman at the desk goes, what is that? And I go, oh, I couldn't even explain. But
You should have walked out right there and then. This is not the vet office for me.
And I found out, I used to work on the campus of a church, and I'm walking around one day, and there was a Buckeye tree, and I was like a crazy person picking them all up.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a Buckeye tree at our church. So then I meet this
Yeah.
Ohio State guy somewhere, and he goes, I've always wanted to carry a Buckeye in my pocket. And I told him the address of the church, and he actually went and
Oh my God.
So words out.
Yeah.
But thank you for being with us. We do have a question we ask all our guests, and that is, what is your pet or human peeve? Like, what just gets to you?
That's a good
Go
one.
with the
yeah.
name of.
And it doesn't have to do with veterinary medicine.
Man, I've got a huge one. No, I will say that I probably live under the motto that expectations minus reality equals disappointment.
Amen.
And so I really try. So expectations and reality, I do a lot of management of those. And so I guess the disappointment factor comes when I've gotten that out of line.
I always say no expectation, no disappointment. So there you
Yeah,
go.
right. See, the equation holds.
Yeah, true.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bowman. I swear to God, this has made it so understandable. And Janet, I know as a layperson, this was helpful
Oh
to
my
you.
gosh, I totally get it. Now I'm not afraid of the eggs or chicken anymore. But the cat's eating the birds, I'm a little nervous.
Thanks again,
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr.
Bowman.
Bowman.
Janet, we're going to close. So listen, this is Dr. Alice Novotny-Droman and
Janet Novotny King from Cleveland, Ohio, saying thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow us, share us. We are rocking and rolling with the number of people following us, so we love that. And one more thing, Dr. Bowman, OH.
IO.
Yay.
yay! Thanks, everyone. Kiss your pets for us.
We like likes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Speaking of Pets.
And give your pets a big kiss from the Novotny sisters.